Hey there, welcome to the Beauty Wars, where one side swears Mordor is as beautiful as Rivendell,
They're the same picture.
while the other demands jiggle physics even on their breakfast, and both will bite you if you disagree. And they are right, we should talk about this, just not to throw a fit over who's too pretty or too ugly, but because this only benefits the ones who are destroying media, or why this side is full of crap, why the other is becoming the same, and why both are kinda right, all from a psychological point of view. But before we start stabbing each other over pixel boobs, six-packs and the problem with beauty, we need to define it, which I mean, it's anything that looks like.
I think your nonsense broke the camera.
Beauty is your brain telling you, this gets my attention, and I like it, which it does through two mechanisms. First, a genetic sense of aesthetics that's stable, simple, and works as a jack of all trades. Patterns, color, symmetry, the things you like because you just do, and why nobody needs to learn how a bumblebee on a flower beats a fly on a turd. Then we have a personal sense we customize to our own experience. This is more complex, changes across time, and you can mess it up. It's your taste, your preferences, your fetishes, the things you've learned to like, and nothing grabs attention like tickling those senses, especially the genetic one, so visual media exploits the hell out of it. But nobody will complain about a beautiful sunrise. Trouble shows up when beauty involves people, because calling someone beautiful usually means wood, and that's when sexuality walks into the room with all its usual gripes. Because the genetic side wants what it wants, no matter how much body positivity you throw at it. Thick, young, symmetrical, fit, buff, if we are thirsting for it now, we were thirsting for it millennia ago. Problem is, beauty follows a normal-ish distribution. So for every Brad Pitt, there is a Brad Pittiful, and an army of Brads nobody looks at twice. Guess where you're going as you get old, or if you don't take care of yourself. This means that media focusing on beauty ignores most of us mortals, which should be fine as long as you'd rather play your own hand at getting jealous at what others are getting. Because the truth is not going to change. We become idiots in front of beauty, and marketing people love idiots. So of course they push it, feeding more and more the debate of how much is too much. But today we don't debate, today we see a fire and throw gasoline at it, hence the beauty wars. So let's talk about both sides, and we'll start with the ones pushing for a change. For starters, the shift in media has nothing to do with the audience. We're still as obsessed with beauty as we've always been. And at the same time, if a product is amazing, beauty becomes secondary like it always did. This is not about us having different tastes, not even about the ones who love to tell everybody else what they should like, but about how they become the excuse for those in power to protect us. This shift in media has been pushed by politicians, corporations, activists, and investors who really don't care about any of these issues, but they have a lot to gain. I mean, Visa and MasterCard say that they are censoring media for moral reasons, when they don't even know what morals are. Corporations follow profit, and even the ones that are at a loss will play both sides. And just look at how fast things change in the industry when DEI stopped being such an investment, and if you believe politics are not about money and power, you've lost the right to laugh at horoscope people. More than ever, politics are about creating fake enemies to keep us too busy hating each other to notice how they are fucking us all. Adding real-life issues into what we use to escape real life is just another way to do it. So of course it's divisive, hypocritical and fake, especially when the dirty work is left to activists that look more concerned with making cash or becoming the new beauty standard than anything else. But let's not build a straw man. Let's unpack the actual claims. The core argument is that media pushing aesthetics objectifies people, which of course it does. Media is a reflection of us. Homo sapiens sapiens is a horny ape. We even put sapiens twice to prove that even the smart ones are quite the wankers. That's what we do. We objectify others, and we do it to ourselves to gain status, attract, or manipulate. Just a quick check to social media, or even better, going outside and having a walk in a nightlife area, makes media that doesn't come with an X rating rather tame. Besides, changing the standard of beauty only objectifies different people. They know this is a weak argument, as the worst you can say is that it is distasteful, which is fair, but not enough to force your paws into media. To do this, they had to push the idea that it's also dangerous, for which they used four main claims. That it creates unattainable beauty standards, that it caters for the male gaze, that it warps men's minds. The good will think about the children, and some will talk about representation, but that's a separate issue. Let's go one by one. The unattainable beauty standards. And this is true, but so weak that you could erase all existing media and change nothing. Media is just a circus mirror for reality, showing larger-than-life characters who look amazing, but they also dodge bullets and lift swords bigger than themselves. They are fake, an illusion, as when statues had muscles that don't exist to pursue the beauty of the gods. And yes, this has an impact in culture, but for a well-adjusted person, media stereotypes don't really do much. Which should move the debate to how we should take the massive chunk of the school curriculum that's pointless and change it to a politics-free space to teach children how to develop as healthy, well-functioning critical thinkers, while protecting the vulnerable ones. Just teaching a tiny bit of media literacy would do more to protect teens against beauty standards than anything they are doing, but this would also mean raising harder to manipulate critical thinkers, and who wants that? Another weak point for this argument is that we are tribal as hell. People don't get pissed when a billionaire buys his 100th car, but when their neighbor gets one they can't afford. For beauty is the same. A teenage girl isn't crushed by an actress, she's crushed by her classmates. You could let a kid watch Arnold's filmography in repeat without issues, but put him in a gym full of just bros and see what happens. The standard of beauty is not set by Hollywood, but by your neighborhood, or today your social media feed, where all the people you know is at their fakest, together with the influencers who make a business of creating parasocial relationships. And our brains mistake this as tribe, even if you know you cannot call us idiots on the internet friends. But you can call me daddy. My question is, where is the multi-billion DEI machine when the next generation is being taught how to love themselves by influencers who had to go under the knife, or get on gear and cover their feeds with expensive trash to pretend they know what self-esteem is?
I will in this video show you how to stop being ugly.
Where are they when people are getting depression after seeing themselves without a filter? Nowhere, there's no money on that, and this was never about helping. Otherwise they'd be pushing to improve mental health and critical thinking. Because you don't change media to change the culture, you change the culture and media follows. But instead let's get offended at Lara Croft's pointy ends, because it's time to talk about the male gaze, the most hypocritical argument of them all. Yes, men are visual, and our preferences tend to stay stable, both across individuals and across time. So putting spicy ladies or lads on screen, depending on what side one swings for, will have most men of all ages going It is a cheat code. But have you noticed how the most popular female influencers making content for women look similar, if not worse, than male gaze media? This is because it works. A recent study about gaming showed that if you ask, most women will tell you that over-sexualized characters are problematic, but if instead of asking, you let them play, they chose those characters way more than men. And research on other types of media shows similar results. We could debate about the reasons, but like it or hate it, it sells better to most. This is being used to push a very lucrative gender war when it's basically just media business exploiting women's image to exploit everybody's wallets. And for those who are telling that this is about men versus women, here's the question. What makes this type of media any different from media for other collectives? Queer content has always been
a little bit spicy.
And what they make for the fairer sex is different, but no better. Different because they are also pushing the genetic side, and for genetics, women have more variability both between individuals, and in time, they are also less visual and more context-driven. So media can't just slap a sexy dude and wabam, money. For this simple reason, visual media focuses more on men. But why are we ignoring the rest of media? In the literary world, almost all the spicy content is female-focused, and it's not any less degenerate or objectifying. Let me give you the Welcome to the Book Corner, where today we are going to read fragments from Lights Out, a novel that competes both in score and number of reviews with literature masterpieces such as War and Peace. Josh was so hot that if he pulled up next to someone and told them to get in his van, he wouldn't even need candy to lure them. They'd take one look at him and decide that the risk of being serial murdered was worth the potential reward of getting whacked instead. Well, maybe that was an exception. Let's try again. I'd remind myself what kind of woman I was. The kind who didn't run screaming from her masked stalker, but whacked his knife handle instead. Well, empowering. Where are my eye drops? And yes, this was me cherry picking. cherry-picking things that won't flag my video, because one of the most popular genres is dark romance, which is about getting in the relationship with the most red flags you can get. And there are many massively popular genres like this, as the vampire obsession that was about getting in bed with men who had to hold back not to eat you, and I don't mean it in the moist way. But come on, they were hot. And I'm not king shaming, this is just spicy fun. But where is the outrage about how objectifying this is, or how this type of media that glorifies toxic relationships and it's made for young adults and teens can be dangerous? Again, nowhere. Don't think. Sexy robot bad, boning your furniture good, all this has the subtle aroma of bollocks, unless you truly believe their next claim, that this type of media makes men more dangerous. Or how to connect your nonsense with real life issues to pretend you have an argument, what I'd call a non sequitur if I was being pedantic. It is a non sequitur. They say that this type of media makes men have unrealistic expectations towards how women should look. But the data we have shows that men think that the average woman is a 6.5 because our lower brain is not really good at math. But what about the whole danger thing? And well, after years of maybes regarding fan service and thirsty content, we got a meta-analysis showing that at least in gaming it doesn't have any effect. But the core of research is about adult content, and the results, well, they are the opposite. We are being numbed and pacified by it. Which makes a lot of sense if you think about it, as from a neurological standpoint it's basically a massive demotivator. Just wait till AI waifus and husbandos become good enough and see how we go extinct. But on the bright side, everybody will be dating a model. The thing is, if you care about data, this argument is very weak, and we only have one left. Will nobody think about the children? Yes, we should keep kids away from thirsty media, but talking about it feels like choosing wallpaper when the house is on fire. I mean, in the Middle Ages, the era of magazines and VHSs, where we had to barter or even steal to get them, almost everyone managed to hide a questionably hygienic stash. Today, this is unstoppable, and I don't know what the solution is. What's clear is that the privacy nightmare they are trying to implement is going to do nothing, and that someone screaming, "I am the new beauty now," to remove beautiful characters from media is going to do even less. And this is not about representation, that's a whole different video, but long story short, make your characters average, they'll be pissed at something else. Make your piece diverse and wholesome, they'll shit on diverse people and call it a kink. Indie media always had diversity and usually drops beauty stereotypes, but where is the praise about that when they are not openly pandering? Again, nowhere. The internet hate goblins and the professionally offended are always going to be angry. Besides, the only real argument so far is that this type of media can be distasteful. And you know what? Let me confess you something. I don't really care for thirstbait media.
What?
Yes, media that focuses on beauty can be nice to look at, but more often than not it's so forced that it feels like the Gunnar brother of product placement. We are all pissed when media tries to manipulate us with politics, DEI and all that trash. But why are we pretending the beauty obsession isn't corporate manipulation that treats us like horny baboons? Especially teens, who are the cash cow of the thirst economy. These are my values, if you show me tits I have others? Let me build my argument. Looks have always been at the center of media, and as competition grew, the more they pushed it. Which is fine, until hotness became more important than art and quality, because it's easier to get and easier to sell. The best example is the music industry, where they write and produce a song and then decide who is hot enough to sell it. Just check the top artists of the last decade. They look like they are made of plastic and most wouldn't sound much better without autotune. But check the greats of the past. Hendrix, Zappa, Simone, King, Mercury, Joplin. Few pass modern beauty standards. Today, the Beatles would be called the bullied. And this is not me old farting that people in the past had more talent. That's not true. We have the same talent, but the music industry is not about musicians anymore. And what do you want to bet that soon enough, artists are going to become meat puppets for AI-made songs if they are not already? And this is not only about the music industry, this is happening everywhere. And yes, hot people sell more, but this has a price, because for basic statistics you'll find most of the talented people on the side of the average. So, not only we are choosing from the smallest pool, but also from the one where they don't need to put as much effort to get attention. And like this, we've got polished clones, and even those with less awareness than a rusty chainsaw. But they look pretty. And this doesn't stop here. The same happens even when characters are not real. Anime, comics, games, everything has gone from unleashed creativity to mainstream cash machines full of cute or hot characters pretending they are not color swaps. Of course, there are exceptions, feel free to list them down below, but I'm talking about tendencies, not absolutes. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the roided heroes of the West or the K-pop clones of the East. Following an ideal aesthetic always reduces creative options because the ideal is reductive. But media money sniffers know that the halo effect still kicks in, and we are way less likely to bash a mediocre product if it's pretty or comes with little clothing. Like this, the creative, weird and challenging authors get pushed aside for the ones printing safe thirstbait. Easy to sell, easier to mass produce. And that's on us. We've proven that they can deliver absolute trash and still get a bestseller if it tickles the right audience's fancy. But this is not only about looks. The obsession with beauty also hurts storytelling, and I'm not only referring to things that make your suspension of disbelief lift more than a strongman, like heavy armor thongs or someone running half naked on a war zone because they breathe through their skin. I mean, look at her. Breathing. I'm neither referring only at the silly tropes like pretty equals good and ugly equals bad, or comedic, or those universes where average people have gone extinct, but at the fact that looks are a storytelling tool. If you ask why is a character hot, the answer should explain part of their personality, their attitude, their history, and how the world reacts to them. But more and more, the only answer you get when you ask that question is because people are thirsty, and when looks don't affect the world, or make the world dumber in a story that's not done by design, that's not writing, that's marketing. But the worst part is how the side defending this has become as obnoxious as the one attacking it. Before we were angry at the DEI people bashing anything that didn't follow a narrative or an aesthetic, and now the ones defending beauty are bashing anything that doesn't follow an aesthetic and doesn't put thirstbait back into the table. Like how Stellar Blade was hailed as the gaming savior, but remove the outrage marketing and it's a derivative waifu game with mediocre storytelling. Decent, but that's it. And now we'll get clone after clone after clone. It's kind of fun to see how the Asian market is treated as the last hope, but it's also where media gets the most exploitative, copy-pasted, and the market that polished the art of thirst-trapping teens into gambling addiction. Let's not even start about how some content is openly designed for people who should be on a watch list. And I say this as someone who really loves Asian media, but every market has its problems. I digress. I understand getting pissed when they pander or change pre-existing characters, but for new ones? Are we pretending we aren't happy playing as a fat Italian short king with a mustache if the thing is good? Not following beauty standards doesn't break media. Many of the best titles of every genre don't do it because they don't need the makeup. And that's what I'm criticizing. I'm not bashing beauty. Hot and sexy can be amazing, but using hot and sexy as a way to cover for mediocrity, not so much. Which is what the shallow, market-driven thirst trapping does. I mean, just look at your phone store. The irony here is that both sides make a lot of sense, when they are not driven by greed or outside agendas. One side wasn't wrong, raising an eyebrow at how media was becoming a thirst trap made of hollow pieces full of bimbos and bimboys. And the other side had all the right to be fed up at fake corrections designed to score brownie points with investors while making media for people that doesn't exist. Both using beauty or removing it can make a great product if it serves the creative vision, because the issue isn't the look, it's the intent of the authors. If your world is dark, dirty and screwed up, it makes sense for your characters to look the part. Like the girls in Shifu who'd look like they give you rabies, or how it would be absurd for Deep Rock's dwarves to look like boy toys. And it's cool when thirsty authors own it, like Oda or Yokotaro. Both are brilliant, weird and thirsty, so their works are also all that. It's great to have our sexy lads and our femme fatales when they are well written. Same with the freaks of nature, especially when the world around them doesn't pretend that they don't look like they look. Same with queer stuff, weird, dark, or even grotesque. Letting creativity free is the only way to get the best of everything. And art, no matter how nasty, will never be worse than censorship. And it would seem that even the ones that were so happy about censorship in the past are learning that if you let them censor what you hate today, tomorrow they might do it to whatever you love. So maybe we should go back to not being anti-beauty or anti-normal, but anti-bullshit. Because we all lose when we are fighting each other to defend the ones who are cashing in. In a sense, we are fighting the wrong enemy. They know that when we are barking at each other online, we are way less likely to do anything useful, as it tricks our brains to believe that we already did our part. So don't. Instead, vote with your wallet. Support and share the initiatives that are fighting media control. And hell, if you worry about a piece of media looking too much like propaganda, a thirst trap, or whatever pisses you off, get the unlimited demo on the high seas to make sure before buying. And whenever some arse on the internet brings your blood to a boil, keep in mind that this might be the last chance you have to do something nice for someone you love. But you'll always have time to scream at randoms on the internet, so choose well. You'll be happier, and we can all do with a bit more kindness. Have a good one!